Hi, everybody. Welcome to our season preview episode of FootyNotes podcast on FootyNotes.com. My name is Bonnie Sile, and on this Friday the 13th, early morning over here, and I am going to go over just the things that I think are going to be happening this season, just looking ahead, and Arsenal are also kicking off later on today against Brentford. Not so good news for the Gunners, with Lacazette and Aubameyang being reported as out for today. So that leaves Arteta in a bit of a sticky situation for a lot of people who were already feeling concerned about Arsenal's chances going into this season. This will probably not help because, Partey gets hurt 2 weeks ago against Chelsea. And then, on the eve or just the morning of the the season opener, everybody is hearing about Lacazette and Aubameyang being out. So that can't help, but it is what it is. I think like most clubs, it's just going to have to be a next man up kind of mentality for the Gunners today, and it's going to be interesting to see what he actually does, and if that affects his decisions in other parts of the team, actually, because I kind of spoke before I go into the season kind of like outlay in terms of like what I hope and to see and what I think will actually happen. Just talk a little bit about this news coming up, and then later on in the second half of the podcast, I'll talk about the game as well. With the obviously now the news of, because I had both these guys in the team, so with the news of them not being available, so they clearly won't be in the team. That leaves two spots available on the left and up top. So it's going to be interesting to see what the manager and his coaching team decide as far as who will take those spots, because Saka, whilst he's fit, I don't think he would have lost a lot of match fitness from his break after England, but this may force the matter, and he may play more than the 30 minutes he got last Sunday, because he's one of the better players. Some may argue he's the best player in the team, based on what he did last year. So he may end up playing from the start. What I would hope to see, just in brief here, would be a combination of Martinelli and what's his face, this young kid, Balogun. If Martinelli and Balogun can share the minutes at the top, maybe then you can, have Saka play on the left and share the minutes there with, I don't know, actually, Willian, maybe. Like that. That's going to be interesting to see how Arteta solves that puzzle. The other alternative would be to go to a back three and play with two tens. That would actually be easier. If he plays Kieran Tierney, Ben White, and Mario Holding as a back three, and then you could maybe play this new kid at left wing back, but I don't think this is what's going to happen, though. You could play Tavares at left wing back, and then you could be maybe a little bit more conservative with your midfield options. Maybe you can then have Xhaka and El Neni to compensate for the lack of experience up top, as well as then. I like Lokonga. I would actually want him to play, but if you're playing 3-4-3, maybe you sit him down for the beginning, and then you go bold with your wing back choices, and then you can have Smith Rowe, Pepe, and then up top you could have Balogun and Martinelli share the minutes. So that could be another solution. I don't think that one happens, but it wouldn't be a terrible one if you tried it out. This is a lot for this guy. I don't know how he's going to solve it, and we'll find out in a matter of, I guess, 5-6 hours. But yeah, I wouldn't want to be him, and especially with like Arsenal fans really feeling restless already with how slow things have gone on in the transfer window. Um, I keep reminding people though, like, it's not all on the manager. I don't think he's happy with the squad he's going into the season with. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, and let's wait and see and learn about all of that kind of stuff later on. But I'll talk about the game in the second half of the podcast. Um, let's look at what Arsenal have done in the summer so far. They they've signed they've signed in not in this order, but they've signed Ben White, Tavares, and Lokonga. Right, I think Tavares was the first one to come in, and then Lokonga, and then Ben White. But those are the three guys that have been signed for the first team squad. Besides some extensions that have been really really good too, right? Like Balogun, I know it was towards the late end of last season, like late April, early May, that his contract was extended. But it was one we were kind of like stressing and fretting about. So it was a good thing that he was secured, and I would count him as one of the summer business. One of the things that's been concluded for the summer business. And then in addition to that, another youngster, Kira Taylor Hart. He's not going to affect the first team right now, but I think that's another good thing for them. I'm not going to talk too long about these young ones, but good thing that they've extended him because there were concerns about him leaving. His contract was up this summer. Okonkwo, the same. And then they've kind of like let go of some of the other few insignificant youngsters as well. Mark McGuinness and Tolaji Bola and the likes. What's his name? Trey Coyle, those kinds of kids, like under 23 players who were hitting the age like of 22, 23, have all been let go. Most of them on permanence, like Ben Sheaf gone, which has opened up a very interesting thing for the under 23s right now. Obviously, they let go of Steve Bold and brought in Kevin Betsy, who's rated highly as a young coach. They brought him in from the English youth setup, from the England at the FA. He had obviously worked for the FA for the last, I think, 4 to 5 years or so, and he's worked around London, so he understands like the kind of like the catchment area Arsenal will be operating within in terms of youth football, and also he'll probably know a lot of other young players who are good, because especially as Arsenal are looking for young English talent, So I think his appointment is actually, I don't know how good a coach he's going to turn out to be, but I do think it was a good appointment in terms of like moving away from Boldy and maybe having Boldy have a fresh start somewhere else. But at the same time, we're bringing somebody who's in tune with the youth setup in England, because he's been looking for players, for the teams that he's been coaching, and he will know who are the best young English players in the country. So with that said, he will have the nous of like, what the market looks like for those kinds of players. When Arsenal started like being aggressive recruiting at that age group last year, already as it was. So he will hopefully help us identify and bring in better players at that level. But more importantly as well, I think he's going to have a role in really playing. He's now a hire of Mertesacker, who has been working very closely with Edu and Arteta. So hopefully he fits into whatever the plan is at Arsenal. I would imagine he does, having been through an extensive recruitment process. So that is a very key appointment with Arsenal's youth revolution being in full flow. I don't think this appointment is spoken about enough. I don't think it's getting enough of airtime in most podcasts I listen to, and then also in the media. It's been reported by people who are Arsenal reporters, and that's how I know about it, and I've read about it in The Athletic, but those are like subscription-based kind of readings, right? Not everybody has access to that. So I wanted to just like give a shout to that. And I'm really excited to see what he does with the likes of Aziz, Ben Cottrell, Charlie Patino, a lot of these young guys. And I know that Arsenal picked up a young striker from Fulham. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but young blonde English kid, Biarritz or something like that. Actually, let me not even try to pronounce his name. But like, there's a lot of really cool things happening in the youth level, and that appointment of Kevin Betsy, for me, gives me a lot of hope for what I think Arsenal are going to be doing this summer and moving forward, and how that's going to affect introduction of young players into our senior team. So with that said, some of the more significant business, like I said, we've only bought one player who is like walk into the first team when everyone is fit, and that's Ben White. And he has shown his quality already. And those of you who've listened to this podcast before we even bought him, I've been high on this player, and I think I'll continue to be high on him. And I think more and more people will soon see like that, the good player that he is, and what he will actually do for this team. He will obviously, like all players, not have a great game every time he steps on the field. I expect him to fuck up, but I expect him to be more impactful than not. The reason being, he's a player that that backs himself and does like not high risk things defensively, but he does make a more bold passing option than your average centre back. He also does carry the ball really well in through the phases in midfield, sometimes better than some of our central midfielders. In fact, I think he's a better ball carrier than Granit Xhaka, who I like. I like Granit Xhaka, but I think Ben White is really, really good. He's got pace. He's got good skill on the ball. He can dribble, and he can see a pass. He reads the game really well. Very good interceptions, statistics, and so like he is the one guy who walks right into the first team as we had last year, and really improves it. I know he approximates David Luiz in terms of passing, but I think he gives us more in terms of his ability to play a bit higher, because he's still young and he's got speed. And Luiz had lost, if he's ever had speed, he had lost it by the time he came to Arsenal. So I think Ben White and then Lokonga, for me, would be the next best player of the three we've bought in. And Lokonga may have a lot more to do sooner than we all expected, maybe sooner than he even expected. I think the player himself would have backed himself to be good enough to play for Arsenal from the jump. But I think the plan would have probably been to ease him in, and because of his age, and also just like there are some other guys who are used to playing the Premier League, and we have a hard start coming this month. So it would have been probably to blood him in and ease him into the team, progressively. But it may be a case of like just ripping the Band-Aid and just tossing him in with the Sharks, because he's the one guy who probably approximates Partey the best. He's at this stage in his career, he's like the poor man's Thomas Partey. So let's see what Arteta does with that dilemma in midfield. But yeah, he's good, but I don't think he's a player that jumps us too far forward as far as like the improvements that we need to make in that first 11. But he's an improvement on El Neni and Ceballos already, in my opinion, and Torreira and Guendouzi, who we didn't have last season. But he's an improvement for sure. But I don't think he makes us leap into top 4 yet. Not by himself anyway. And then Tavares, I find him to be probably the best possible replacement player, or kind of like backup player to Tierney that we could have found. Young guy, is probably not going to kick up a fuss for not playing too much. But at the same time, he seems capable to, if the game is 3-0 up and Kieran Tierney needs to be just iced up and protected for the next game after playing 25 straight games, hopefully, because I do hope Kieran Tierney will play every single minute, at least 70 minutes of 90% of the games, with no Europe. Hopefully, this will be a season where he'll grow strength from strength to strength over an already good start to his Arsenal career. But I think Tavares gives us exactly, you know, the right kind of backup player. He's not as good as Tierney, but he's better than every other backup we tried there last year, in my opinion. So with that said, I think that's going to be a really really cool like start to the season. Start to the transfer window, with the youth stuff that has been done, and as well as like the incoming so far. As far as the outgoing, it's a continuing thing. It hasn't been great. It hasn't been great, but it hasn't been great for anybody, and it's starting to look like things are moving. So, with that said, I do think there's still quite a bit that Arsenal can do in terms of shifting players out. It doesn't seem like there'll be a lot of profit. I think probably they're going to be, spending more than selling for, because a lot of the players we want to release are not worth much. And we're a team that's trying to get better from eighth. So we are going to be spending more than we are selling players for. So with that said, I think Arteta spoke yesterday actually in his press conference about, trying to balance the number of foreign players in your squad. So this means then, even though Arsenal are going to be trying to sell foreign players, most of them, I don't think they are the players people want the most. I think Arsenal will have a better chance selling their young English players, as we've seen with the Joe Willock situation. And I think Reece Nelson will be harder to sell because he chose to refuse loan options last year, and now has a year left and seemingly doesn't want to extend for a further year or so he can be loaned out. So that's going to be, I don't know actually what's going to happen with that one. It looks like it could potentially be ugly for both player and club. If club wants to, just flex and say, okay, well then you don't want to leave, we'll keep you here and you won't play. You'll just play under 23 football for another season. I do hope that the player, has got some. I don't know what kind of advice he has around him, but I do hope he's got good advisors. But judging by what happened last year, I would question the people advising him. I'm not sure that he's getting really good advice. Eddie has got the same agent as Bukayo and Balogun. So I think Eddie has got a guy who knows what he's doing. I don't know actually who represents Nelson. But yeah, so Eddie will be fine. I think he's a goal scorer. He's done a lot. He's done a lot more than Reece in terms of showing what he can do at both Arsenal and at youth England international level, as well as his record with the Arsenal youth teams. So Eddie should be fine. I know he's injured right now. It might make it a little bit tricky selling him in this window, but I don't think it'll be impossible to sell him. He's a guy who can get goals. Brighton need goals. Palace need goals. Southampton will need goals. There are a lot of teams who will need goals. I would go as far as to even saying Newcastle, but I don't know if Newcastle will have the money. I think Arsenal should be looking to get anywhere from 12 to 20 million pounds for Eddie, who is a young English goal scoring forward with 1 year left on his contract. If he had more, I would say maybe at least as much as Joe Willock. But problem is, Joe had more to run in his contract. Eddie only has a year. So that's going to be the kind of players I think Arsenal will be able to let go, like Ainsley. I think, unfortunately, all of these kids can actually do more for the squad than some of the players who Arsenal won't be able to let go of. Like Torreira, might be harder to let him go. We're definitely not getting any. No, I don't even think we're getting half of what we paid for him in this current market, especially with like no one will have him in England. He's likely, if he leaves, he's likely to go to Italy. So with that said, I think it's going to be interesting to see also what happens with the situation of Kolasinac, because he's another player that, with Tavares and Tierney there, I think, Kolasinac is definitely going to be surplus to requirement. I think it may be best that Arsenal probably try to let him go on a free or something, and then let the other team take on his wages or something like that. Because the kinds of teams who will want him will be, yeah, will be kind of like broke teams, or teams that are in Italy who can't pay a transfer fee and then even improve his or match his wages as they are at Arsenal. So that's going to be a little weird one. And then the other thing for Arsenal to consider is going to be what to do at right back. I mean, they have too many players there. Unless Chambers is going to be, a guy who's shifting around, double dipping in center back / right back roles, or right back / midfield roles. That's going to be a hard one to have. If Angel doesn't leave, I mean, that's potentially 4 right backs. But now they have about 3. 2 of them are like straight up right backs, and then Chambers is one of those kind of like Swiss Army cut kind of knife player. So the right back needs to be sorted out, and I don't know if it gets better than what we have. It may be a better of like maybe a case at right back of like addition by subtraction. Like we get better by just letting go of one of them, and then using that money, if we get money for that guy, in another position in the squad. By the way, guys, I warned about the cicadas in one of my last episodes. They're still here. They're probably going to be here right throughout till whenever they decide, maybe in the winter months or something like that. But what other players? I mean, Torreira, I don't even want to talk about him. Like, we'll see what happens there. And then I'm trying to think, is El Neni going to be sold or let go? I doubt. I think El Neni will be around. He'll probably be like either be extended by a year or just go on a free at the end of his contract. It's going to be interesting to see with what happens with the whole upfront situation. It looks like Odegaard is becoming more of a possibility than a month ago, I would say. A lot of reports coming out over the last 24 hours that things are starting to look like he could come to Arsenal. He's not in the squad for Madrid for this weekend, and a lot of reports, a lot of people who know what they're talking about are saying, "Yep, this guy could be a possibility for Arsenal." I think that deal is for me as close to a sure thing as you can get in the transfer market. And I like it because, Arsenal did try him on and he looked good, considering he only, came on at the end of January. Didn't even have half a season, really. He had close to it, but like he also got an injury somewhere in the middle of that and on the international break. He knows how to play with Emil. He knows how to play with the guys. So he would be like especially if we're signing a player late in the transfer window, he'd be a guy who knows exactly what the playbook is, right? If Arsenal have a playbook, he would know what the plays are. He knows the players. The relationships have already been established. So it'd just be like continuation and developing further. I like that more than the Madison option financially, and also I think it gives us pretty much the same or similar to what Madison would give the club, but more Madison would cost more wages wise and transfer fee, which would then probably limit the funds to go elsewhere. So I think the money for Odegaard is going to be much more likable, and that may hopefully allow Arsenal to spend money somewhere else, vis-a-vis reserve goalkeeper. Sounds like there's a bit of a stalemate between Arsenal and Sheffield United for Ramsdale. So that's going to be a little bit of a weirdish one to see how it plays out. The numbers being quoted, I think Arsenal are good to be pausing or at least faking to be moving away if they're not for real. I don't think it's worth to pay that much money for a reserve goalkeeper when you have so much other business to do to fix your squad, especially in a season where the game time is going to be limited. you may be better off trying to find Neto. I don't care if Kiat your option is his agent. Get Neto, get somebody else who can, a Claudia Bravo type player, like, just get somebody of that ilk to come and be back up to Leno. No egos. He knows what he's placed in the squad, and just bring him in, and sort out the second goalkeeper or first goalkeeper next summer. Leno, it seems like he's a lock for this season. So just get some old guy, some veteran goalkeeper, and play him. Bring in Pitacek for all I care. So yeah, goalkeeper, right back. Maybe no sale, or sorry, maybe no purchase at right back, but sort it out. Attacking midfielder for sure. And then let's see what happens with Tammy Abrahams or any other opportunities for a striker, because between Aubameyang and Lacazette, who are both up there, kind of like, I guess Lacazette you could say he's late prime, and Aubameyang is probably like post prime. There's like kids, between those two guys and those kids. I would say there needs to be a prime entering forward, or a forward who is in his prime. And I think Abraham kind of fits that. And I think, at 30 something million pounds, I think that's a really decent shout. So let's see what Arsenal will actually do. And he's homegrown. So I am going to pause for a little break, and then to pay the bills, and then I'm going to go into like what I anticipate to be the season for us. I'm just gonna do like a numbers thing, like player of the season kind of thing, leading goal scorer, like all that kind of stuff. All right, see you right after this. Hey guys, if you're thinking about a way to start your own podcast, I would encourage you to check out Anchor if you haven't heard of it. It's a free platform where you can create your own podcast, distribute it, having all the editing tools for free, all in one place. Check it out. Download the Anchor app for free on your iPhone or Google phone, whatever phone you have. If it's a smartphone, you can find the app by downloading it, or go to anchor.fm to get started. Check it out. Cheers. Hi guys, back again. Man, these flipping cicadas though. I hope they are a beautiful background sound if you can pick them up, because it's almost like they're having church or something, or they are singing at a club. I don't even know actually. If I wish I could figure out what the hell they're doing, but sometimes they're louder than others, but other times they're nice white noise in the background. Anyway, so let's have a look at what could happen based on what's happened in this, in the transfer window so far, and what is likely to happen between now and August 31st. I do think the transfer window has been pretty good in terms of like seeing movement at Arsenal and seeing what they're trying to do, and them sticking to their plan and being prepared to walk away from deals that are bullshit, as well as pushing through the Ben White thing. I think that was very important, and I'm glad that they saw it through. But I'm also okay with some of them things not being done right now, because it's been very, very hard, to have everything sorted, which is kind of, in a weird way, kind of really good that the first few games of the season are. I mean, okay, it's shit that we're playing Brentford and then we don't have our two main senior strikers and our best midfield player. However, if you're going to lose those players, this is one of those games where I think you would be okay with not having them. So, I don't think we will lose this game because those guys aren't there. I think we will lose this game if we do, because we're just getting outplayed by Brentford. Because I think we still have enough threat and enough in the team to go to a promoted squad and handle business on opening day, right? But my thing is, um, with the kind of preseason we've had and the business not being done, at least we're playing two games in August that before the Norwich game, that we would have lost those games, or not probably. There's a chance we would have lost points in those games. Let me rephrase. There's a chance we would have lost points in the games against City and Chelsea, even if we were at full strength, right? So I think with that in mind, then I'm prepared to give grace to seeing the business done. As hopefully, Arsenal, worst case, come end of August, they've played four games. They've won both the games against the newly promoted teams, right? And then after that, like whatever happens in the Chelsea City game, as long as it's not like a mauling or kind of like a hammering, then we live. We play our best. We give it our best shot, and we live with the result. Um, but if they can get a win tonight and then get another win against Norwich, I think that could have been like after these four games on paper. Um, I don't think anybody will begrudge them a loss against Chelsea and City this early in the season, and then hopefully by September, moving forward and past the international break, everything will settle in, and we'll have the players that Arteta and the technical staff wanted, and everything hopefully sorted. I mean, I know there'll be some players that will be at Arsenal that nobody wants there when the transfer window closes. Hopefully, the number is much less than last year. As Arteta also alluded to in his interview, that up until December, like beginning of January, there were still a lot of players who were not 100% invested in the cause at Arsenal, and we saw what then, how the change helped. When once people started being shifted out, like the team was different. So let's see now, and hopefully this season we are close to 100% of the players being committed from the jump. But until basically September 1st, it's going to be a little bit of guessing games here and there, because there's a lot of stuff that's happening that is still not clear how it's going to fall. A lot of planes in the air, and they all need to land. Let's see how they land. Okay, so I'm going to do a little thing where I'm going to be like saying statement questions. So, for example, league position, question mark. Where do I think Arsenal will finish in the league this season? Based on the squads that are currently available, based on what I know today, which is basically Friday the 13th morning, my time, I think Arsenal will probably finish sixth or fifth. Like I'd say sixth, because it's somewhere. I think they'll finish in the European positions, and I think in the Europa League positions. I think Tottenham and Leicester will give us a run for our money for fifth and sixth, and I think we'll do better than one of them. I don't care which one, but I think we'll do better than one of them, and I think we'll be better than West Ham. I think we'll be better than Everton. Could be wrong, but I think Arsenal will be number six. And then the top four, I think, is not going to be changed. I think the top four from last year have far better squads, even if they didn't do any business and we did good business. But the fact that some of them are already doing better business than Arsenal, City doing better business than Arsenal, and they won the league. Man United doing better than Arsenal, they came second. Liverpool hasn't done a lot of business, but they're getting players back that they lost for more than half of last year. Van Dijk, that's a new signing. And I think Joe Gomez, like that. Liverpool have a better squad, at least better first 12, 13 players. and they are usually very good in the transfer market. So I expect them to be in the top four. Chelsea are doing incredibly insane business. They spent last summer already over £200 million, and they're just buying Lukaku, or just bought Lukaku for a little bit under £100 million, something like 115 million euros. So and then they're looking to add another centre back, like could be Kunde, it could be like some top class centre back. Chelsea will be fine. I think that's the top four, and then it's up for grabs between Arsenal, Tottenham, Leicester. I might say Everton because I think Rafa will do better than Ancelotti there, but that's going to be the next 3 to 4 teams in there, and I think Arsenal will be fine because we only have no Europe. Sorry, we only have domestic competitions, so I think that's why I'm saying number 6. Points total, I can see us being at like 65 points, thereabouts, to become 5 or 6, number 5 and number 6. I think out of 38 games, Arsenal will win at least 20. That's 60 points. And then I think 5 draws, 13 losses. That's 65 points. I think we'll lose games. So I think, yeah, about 65 points is my guess in terms of like points total. And I think that should be enough for number 5 or number 6, which is why I'm going for number 6. Because I think the top 4 is going to basically run away and be crazy in terms of like what they're going to be able to do as the season progresses. The other teams will get better, like Leeds and all of that, and so that's why I think Arsenal will lose about 13 games, but I think we're gonna turn some draws into wins because we'll have a little bit more familiarity and we'll play a little bit higher, and but what that will do also though to our goals conceded and goals scored statistics will probably be interesting to see. So speaking of which, goals scored, I think Arsenal will score more goals this year. Last year they scored 55 goals. I'll add 10 to that. I think they'll score. There'll be more goals from all over the team. I think Alba will definitely improve on his 15 goals. So I think he will score about a third of those goals. I think he will score a lot of goals this year. Like I think he'll do 20. And then I think if Martinelli is a player we think he will be, I think he will get between 10 and 15 goals this season. If he's the player we all think he is going to be. And so that's 2 players, 30 to 35 goals, right? And I think that, if Alba gives you 20, Martinelli gives you 10, you already have 30 goals there. I think Pepe will give you anywhere between 8 and 14. So I'm going to say 10 goals from Pepe. That's 40 goals. And I think Laka will give you about 10 goals. That's 50 goals. And then I haven't even gone between Saka and Smith Rowe, right? And then there'll be goals from defenders and things like that. So I think 65 goals is possible. I don't know, really like if what I'm saying in terms of who will do what. I mean, some of those players will probably underachieve, but I think some of the players that I've spoken about will overachieve the number that I've kind of guessed that they will do. I'm going based off of like basically what they did last year. Aubameyang was in the mid-teens and Laka was our top goal scorer. I think Laka will probably do the same or a little bit worse than last year, right? But I think Alba is likely to do better than he did last year. And so things like that are likely to happen. So like I was conservative with my Laka guess, but I was a little bit more bold than with my Alba, because I think he can't drop off that much from the 2 seasons ago and be that bad. So and he, hopefully he has a better family life and more stable situation around him, in which case he's definitely going to improve. Last year, like let's not forget, last year was like basically way, way lower than anything he had done for like 6, 7 seasons leading up to last year. So I like to think, class is permanent. And I think if we have a lot of these young kids playing with him, it gives, and we keep him in and around the 18-yard area and not have him, chase wingbacks all the way back, then we'll get more out of him. I really believe we'll get more out of him. Um, and so, and I think some of these other players, young players, some of them will stall and some of them will jump, right? So I think there's enough goals there to get us to like 60, 65. However, I do think as much as we will score more goals, I think we will also concede more goals than the 39 we conceded last year. So I think we'll score more goals and we'll win a lot of goals, a lot of games. Like my prediction for today's game was that we'll win 3-2, right? Because I really do think our defense is going to be open based on the way Arteta wants to play now, or at least what I'm seeing in this, in the preseason. I think we'll concede more goals, but for me, I really don't care about that stat as long as we score one more goal than the opponent. More times than not. If we score one more goal than the opponent 20 times, and or most of those games are like 3-2, 4-2, 2-1, 5-4, I really don't care as long as we are being adventurous and we are winning games, right? As long as we are winning games, for me, we can take as many risks as we want, like on the front foot. Arsenal did finish strong last season, like they won their last 5 games. I know a lot of people will argue that it meant nothing because nothing was on the line, but they did win the last 5 games, and they did have a consistent second half of the season. It's just that the first half of the season was also consistently shit, and then they were consistently good in the second half of the season. So hopefully, this season will have a more of like more of like the ebb and flow of normal seasons. Like you always have your peaks and troughs in any season, and hopefully for this season it'll be back to what the norm, like, and not have 2 months without a win kind of streaks, and then go on a long streak, but you are always playing catch up. So hopefully this season will have then like less long stretches compared to last year of bad runs. And then but I do think, yeah, we'll concede more goals because I think we're gonna hopefully, and maybe this is wishful thinking, but because Arteta has shown a lot of bias towards being conservative, but I do think a lot more risks will have to be taken if we're going to be improving, and the investment in the younger players, I think they're going to be able to sustain the pressing game for longer than some of our older players. So that's what gives me the hope that Arsenal will be a little bit more bold and adventurous. So therefore, more goals conceded. Leading goal scorer. I think there are only 3 players in my view, who are likely to be in this category. I like Martinelli, but I don't think he is going to be one of the leading, like one of my choices for leading goal scorer. I think it's going to be between Pepe and Alba, even though they're going to be both going for AFCON. And I think because of what happened last year and the stability that I'm hoping that he will have, I know he's missing for today, I think Aubameyang will be the top goal scorer with over 20 goals. He's the one guy who's proved that he can get 20 goals for you in a Premier League season. So, for me, I'm going for him. I think he'll be the leading goal scorer with 22 goals. If he plays 37 or 35 games, he'll get you 22 goals. As long as he plays between 30 and 35 goals. Sorry, between 30 and 35 games, he should get us 20, 22 goals. And I stand by that. I really think he has not dropped off as much as some people were arguing that he has. He just had like one of those years, man. Like a lot of people last year were having years, all of us. I just know that, it's going to be different this year. Unless there's an injury or something else that, that's unforeseen. Most likely to flop player. The player that I think is most likely to flop. This one is a hard one. Um, but I think I'm gonna go for one of the young players, but not because I think they're gonna be flop long term. I think they are likely to not meet their expectations. So for example, I went for Martinelli to be one of the guys who will give us 10 to 15 goals based on what he did in that first Emery season when he scored about 10 goals, 11 goals, whatever. Like he was one of few teenagers in Europe. I think it was for a while there, he was the only or one of two who did score double digit goals. Um, and if this turns out to be the season where Martinelli gets to play a lot more and doesn't really, if he's injury free, right, and doesn't get to 15 goals, I think a lot of us, including himself, will be disappointed in him. Um, but I hope I'm wrong about this one, right? I really hope I'm wrong about this one. But I'm saying this because like development is not always linear. Like sometimes players, um, especially at that age, um, have a hard time going up and living up to the standard that they set in the first season. Like there's a second season syndrome, right? Even though he played a second season last year, but last year to me was kind of like a year off for him because he was off for half of the year, and then the second half of the year he was back, but then he played a game or two, got injured again, warming up against Liverpool, and then it was like one of those weird seasons for him. Um, and I think in this category, I mean, I think Saka would be not a flop, but like he won't really. I don't think he's gonna jump too far beyond what he did last year. Like, I think players do have like an off season. So I think I'm gonna go for Gabby Martinelli. I'm gonna go for Gabby Martinelli because his numbers were so promising in the few minutes that he had, and that I worry that he won't be able to sustain that level should he get more playing time. I think it will the numbers will even themselves out. Um, I really hope I'm wrong. I really, 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 really hope I'm wrong, by the way. Um, but yeah, that's my call. Um, Player of the season, I think it's going to be hard. I wanted to say Thomas Partey for this one, but I'm not sure if he's going to be staying fit. So for player of the season, I think Ben White is going to be the player of the season because I think he's going to be the signing that's going to allow us to do a lot of different things on and off the ball. I really think he, will be the mainstay figure. Knock on wood, he stays injury free. He's going to be the mainstay, like the pillar that we're going to build our defense around. And I think our defense will go as Ben White goes because he seems like a very confident young man. I was hoping to see like whether he was a bit of a vocal leader as well. It seems the early signs that he can really grow into that and be that guy. So with that said, I think Ben White will be a really good shout for player of the season. And I know Arsenal fans tend to vote the new player of the season anyway, or player of the month a lot. Um, but I really do think it's going to be between him, Saka, Smith Rowe. And I think he's going to be the guy because he's going to be playing those other guys. He's going to be involved in more of the game than not. And I think we will see some really good centre back play for a change at Arsenal this year. I think he may have a high profile error here and there because he's going to be left exposed from time to time. And he tends to back himself as a one on one defender. He's on the front foot a lot. So at some point, sometimes he's going to make a miscall there. I'm okay with him making an error here and there because everybody makes errors in a game of football over 90 minutes. But I think what he will give us will be far more than what his mistakes take away from us. And then breakout player of the season. There aren't too many players in this category. I mean, I think Emil Smith Rowe had his breakout season last year, Saka too. Um, and then basically it leaves me. I mean, Martinelli could probably be a candidate for this, but I think what I'm going to go for is going to be Sambi Lokonga. The youngster is playing right in the engine room where we have, we've been kind of hopeless at times with players in that position. So I think he's going to give us more than what a lot of us would have expected in that role. And I think he starts today. If Arteta is not being super cautious like he can be at times, or normally can be, I think this kid should be given the shirt today to start next to Xhaka. Game one, let's go. Um, and I like the look of him, and I think he for such a young player, he's such a calming presence, and yeah, he's a good shout for breakout player of the season because a lot of the other youngsters have been seen, and so I think the players who would be qualifying to be nominated by me for this, I think it would be him, like kids like Okonkwo, Balogun, who will make some contribution. It seems at the moment because Laka and Alba are sick. But yeah, my shout for player who's likely to be the breakout player of the season, I think Lokonga. I think Lokonga, he's my shout. Okay, I'm going to stop there, and yeah, I'll be doing a lot more preview of games and post game podcasts along the way throughout the season. But I just wanted to kind of like look ahead into the season and share a few thoughts around what I think is likely to happen and also what I think of what has happened already as far as Arsenal business in this transfer window. So yeah, let's see. I mean, hopefully the next time I speak to you, Arsenal have 3 league points already, one win, 0 loss, 0 draws. I'll speak to you guys after the weekend. Hope you're enjoying I hope you're enjoying the beginning of the weekend and that you will have a lot of fun with the football. Up the Arsenal. Cheers.